Welcome back everyone to GGN. This is part 2 for this news report for today, for Monday, August 26, 2013. My website is Global Government News, or the address is ggnonline.net. On YouTube, my channels are DDarko 2012 and DDarko 2013. Just a quick disclaimer here. You might, if you're kind of sensitive, especially culturally sensitive to some of my videos when I talk about race, you may want to just not watch it and skip it. Me personally, I see so much about how it's one-sided that it disgusts me, and that it seems like anytime white people talk about race, they say, "Oh, what's up with all this?" I see in the comment board, "What's with all this talk about race? Oh, I thought we were past that." But then, anyone that's non-white can talk about how they're being oppressed and discriminated against. And it's about human rights and equal rights. Start out with some police state news here. Young deputy sheriff guns down Air Force vet in his own garage. A 22-year-old deputy kills a 68-year-old vet who was inspecting damage done to his property. Says the funeral arrangements are underway. So he's inspecting his garage late at night after it had been robbed multiple times in the past week. So goes on here and says here that the deputy peeked through the window and spotted Taylor with his handgun. That's when they yelled at Taylor before shooting him multiple times, instantly killing the homeowner and veteran. So moving on here, Army vet shot Californians while atop a tractor. So he was shot dead by police on Saturday. 29-year-old Army veteran allegedly murdered his mother, set her house on fire, and then fired at residents in the Simi Valley, California, while driving a tractor, being shot dead by police. And this was on Saturday. They said they don't know what the motive was that led up to the shootings. He was stationed in Korea at some point, and police had been called to the family home 3 times over concerns about his mental health, though the last of those calls reportedly occurred 5 years ago. Man kills boss and coworker and himself in shooting spree. So, Florida man went on a shooting spree at his former workplace today, killing 2, injuring 2 others, and finally killing himself. So, it says here that 72 years old, step-grandfather of Buffalo Bills, running back C.G. Spiller fatally shot his former boss. So, this is about vetting. This is about an engineered, unnatural society. So, what's interesting is that they give the guns for people to vent, and they go out and they take it out on other people who are also victims of this social engineering and financial enslavement, making excuses for what they're doing or saying that it's okay, just saying that this is the result of what they're doing. Which is why a lot of times you'll see unnatural results from unnatural engineering, and people say, "Oh God, how do we fix this? This is such a tragedy." But the irony is that just like everything else, where people would want to be able to defend themselves from something like this happening, the state comes in and says, "We need to take more of your ability to defend yourself away from you in order to protect you." A boy 8 years old shoots and kills elderly woman intentionally. Cops say he shot his caregiver in back of head after playing Grand Theft Auto. It was as he sat in her living room watching television. And of course, authorities say they still don't know what the boy's motive was. It's described as a realistic game that has been associated with encouraging violence, and awards points to players for killing people. Thousands gathered to honor World War II veteran Delbert Shorty Belton. So, with the second suspect believed to have been involved in his death is still on the loose, thousands gathered in Spokane, Washington on the 23rd to honor the veteran. So, the 88-year-old was attacked and beaten with flashlights by 2 black teens outside Eagles Lodge on August 21st. His friends were shocked. Their dear friend, who survived being shot during World War II, ended up being killed in a parking lot in Spokane by fellow citizens. I guess they took one of those big flashlights. They said it says he was bleeding from all parts of his face. So as far as a guy on the run, another teen nabbed in the World War II vet's slaying. Outrage over his death explodes on social media. That article about the 8-year-old, Grand Theft Auto 8-year-old that killed his caretaker, they said they couldn't release his name because of his age, and they also said that he will not be tried for any criminal act because of his age. So, see, that's the thing. Let's just throw the guy behind bars. That will help fix society, lock him up. Let's not address how sick society is, and that the fact that this is all being done by, quote, teens. right, by the youth. So, but his name was not released because of his age. CNN is calling the attack a botched robbery, and authorities say race had nothing to do with it. So on social media, says users are seeing race playing a role. Surprising here, actor James Wood posted here that mainstream media is ignoring the terror of black-on-white crime, apparently illustrated by Belton's death. So others linked to the Trayvon Martin and President Obama. Did you hear Obama condemn the murder of Belton? Of course not. He didn't say anything about that because the victim was an old white man. This is crazy. I just went in the comment board to see what was going on, and someone actually posted this link. This black suspect, they don't say it, implicated himself in a burglary and homicide of a white man that was 99 years old. So, you say, why are you covering this, Darko? Because, you know, the media isn't saying anything. The only thing they say is, oh, they were teens, they were youths. It was senseless. It was a senseless killing. It didn't make any sense. There was no motive. It was a botched robbery. They're saying everything but the obvious. There's one more that I found. It really just has to do with the youth, really. I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing right here, besides the race, is that this is youth doing this to old people, to the elderly. So it's total lack of respect for elders. It says 91-year-old this Chinese man beaten and robbed while out for a morning walk by this man who is described as a Hispanic, who pushed him to the ground, beat him in the head, and stole his wallet from his pants pocket. So yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. Two teens. When racial cliches drive murder stories, so they get, and you know, it's hosted by this guy, this Dagans, and it's got these two black guys as guests, and it's got this guy with this nice little smirk. Well, who is that? He's Salon's butler, or Brian Butler, who looks and kind of sounds Jewish, so he's going to represent the white guy with white guilt. Isn't that nice, how you're represented in the media? He actually just wrote an article on the 23rd, the rights, or conservatives, I guess, the black crime obsession. Conservative media's total fixation on black on white crime isn't going to end. This Homeland Security employee is preparing for a coming race war. So this DHS employee says here from a new report from basically SPLC, which is run by Jews. The irritated genie who told his bosses at DHS that his anti-white, anti-gay site war is on the horizon was just entertainment. So, and the only reason SPLC covers this is because he was talking about killing homosexuals. So, you know, calling for killing whites wouldn't necessarily be considered a hate crime. Now, of course, if whites called for killing blacks or homosexuals, they would be hunted down by a SWAT team of ravenous SPLC agents. The mass murder of white people, his site says, warfare is imminent, and in order for black people to survive the 21st century, we're going to have to kill a lot of whites, more than our Christian hearts can possibly count. Also, conspiracy theory arguing that white people are trying to homosexualize black men in order to make them more effeminate and therefore weaker. It says here he praises the laws in Africa that criminalize LGBT behavior and people. So what's interesting is because I agree with him on all these points. The problem is that he's falling for it, right? He's falling for the Jews as a race, and he's falling for Jews as representing white people, like that turd bag, whatever his name was, Butler, right? But they don't, and they have an agenda. There's an agenda that's the androgynous agenda, and I've talked about this before, making women more masculine, making men more effeminate. This has nothing to do with race, of course. This has to do with kind of a control mechanism. So, but he advocates for the supremacy of black men above black women. So, you know, they don't like any of this. This kind of conservative values of the traditional family, what it is. So, but it says here another senseless murder. So another senseless murder you're not hearing about, and some of the family wonder if it could be a Trayvon Martin revenge murder. So young white male was walking to his car on August 12th when he's confronted by three black individuals who shot him dead. The family can understand why the shooting is being called a failed robbery when they say the evidence suggests something possibly more sinister, a hate crime. Georgia man faces trial and killing of a baby. So, but it goes on here and says that the teenager was charged as the shooter when he shot the boy between the eyes with a .22 caliber. So who's this teenager? Who's this youth? Well, it's this individual, DeMarcus Elkins. That's the teen, the youth, the child. Rape jihad, Muslim child grooming of white sex slaves, now widespread epidemic in Britain. So this is the case, and I covered this before. This is not old. This is recent. So, and what they say is that these guys are going to go around and they actually target white women in Britain, and they say basically this female says that, well, they deserve it. So, and when they try to talk about it and say anything about it, what are they accused of? Well, it says here that these crimes, says here they're afraid to talk about them because they're accused of being Islamophobic or racist. So that's nice, kind of like immigration. If you're against immigration, you're a racist. Israel Cohen, a Jew writing about the Communist Party's objectives in a racial program for the 20th century, published in 1912. You've probably seen some of you of this quote. So, we must realize that our party's most powerful weapon is racial tension. By pounding into the consciousness of the dark races that for centuries they've been oppressed by whites, we can mold them into our program. The terms colonialism and imperialism must be featured in our propaganda. In America, we will aim for subtle victory while inflaming the Negro minority against the whites. We will endeavor to instill in the whites a guilt complex for exploiting the Negroes. We will aid the Negroes to rise to prominence in every walk of life, in the professions, and in the world of sport and entertainment. With this prestige, Negroes will be able to intermarry with whites and begin the process which will deliver America to our cause. And whites are blamed for the slave trade, right? Like the forefathers. Well, yeah, okay, they were. But who was the biggest component in slave trade? Well, they were Jews. Kind of like in baking. Or politics. Or the media that spreads this crap. Talking about what they're talking about. Superstars, right? Lots of money. Michael Jordan marrying a longtime girlfriend. So he's 50 years old. But you see Patrick Ewing, and he's sticking with his own kind. You got Scottie Pippen marrying a white chick. July 7, 2013, Harvard professor calls for the destruction of the white race. So this Noel Ignatieff, he founded the journal Race Trader. He's at Harvard. So he's a leading black studies department, argues that the current issue that abolishing the white race is so desirable that some may find it hard to believe that anyone other than committed white supremacists would oppose it. He writes that every group within white America, including labor unionists, ethnic groups, college students, school teachers, taxpayers, and white women, has at one time or another advanced his particular and narrowly defined interests at the expense of black people as a race. He pledges that he intends to keep bashing the dead white males and the live ones, and the females too, until the social construct known as the white race is destroyed, not deconstructed, but destroyed. We learned that this is supposed to deliberately inflammatory language for a neo-genocidal program of wiping out the mindset and attitude that automatically grants privileges to whites, according to his Harvard magazine. It turns out that besides him being Jewish, he's a steelworker and a Marxist activist. White guilt, a belief often subconscious among white liberals that being white is in itself a great transgression against the rest of the world, for one must spend their life making atonement. It's often exemplified by embracing the cultures and philosophies of various other ethnic groups while neglecting one's own roots. From McClatchy, for dark-skinned Mexicans, taint of discrimination lingers. Marchers mark unfinished business of civil rights 50 years after Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Young people and adults wore t-shirts, buttons, carrying signs, protesting the acquittal of George Zimmerman. And I've noticed this, and I just thought I'd type it in, and I saw that other people were looking at it. Why is there such a trend of white people adopting Asian babies? So it says, I'm Japanese and it makes me sick. It's stealing the child's culture, language, and food away from them, and it's not fair. Well, the Japanese are very racist. They're very homogeneous people. Transracial adoption twists black parents adopting white kids. 40% of all adoptions in the U.S. are transracial. The percentage has increased significantly since 1994, after the Multi-Ethnic Placement Act prohibited discrimination in adoption based on race. Prince William, Prince George's nursery will be African-themed. Look at this article in 2011. Black, white, Asian, more young Americans choose all of the above. A group of friends erupted into laughter and cheers, a routine show of their mixed race pride. They're part of a demographic shift driven by immigration and intermarriage. Check out this chart. You can look in the article, who is marrying whom. American Indians and Asians are marrying their own, followed by Hispanics. But look at everybody else is marrying what? Whites. National Socialist plans to take over a North Dakota town. He bought up 13 lots. He's going to turn it into a ghost town, into a white nationalist community where they can hold elections. The mayor says, even though it's a ghost town, everybody's wound up. Extremist expert said he's the most vicious neo-Nazi activist around who wants to build an all-white town since 2001. Expert This guy says racism or tribalism persists because minorities cling to their heritage. They refuse to give up their separateness. And the Defense Department is teaching documents suggesting mainstream conservative views as extremist. Thank you.